I saw an article today saying that Kevin Feige was considering having the X-Men 97 cartoon series be a part of the MCU timeline. My brain nearly aneurysmed because that is an idea so bad that it should not even have made it to Kevin Feige's office. And yet, the call was coming from inside the office. This was his idea. Ah, my God, that would also make the original animated series a part of the MCU timeline, and now we got to figure out how do we explain there being X-Men there all along. Let's just move past how bad of an idea that is and get into an issue that has been bothering me since the show has been airing, which is it a continuation of the animated series from the 90s, or is it something else? And it can be something else, but they marketed it as a continuation of the original animated series in juxtaposition to, let's say, part of the MCU timeline. Maybe they weren't going to make a sequel to the X-Men. They were really going to make just a cartoon X-Men show that they could somehow weave into the MCU. That sounds like a bad idea as well. So let's just assume that they pondered on, could we fit this into MCU, or do we only want to jump onto the back of the original 92 series? They chose to jump onto the back of the 92 series, but they're also kind of having their cake and eating it too, as far as doing things that wouldn't have been done in the 90s. Let's start with something simple. The Mojo episode. They made him skinny for all but like 30 seconds so that they could make a Nip Tuck joke. Nip Tuck is a series that came out in 2003, and no one would have been making that reference in 1997. If someone had said those words together, the average viewer probably doesn't know like the slang for plastic surgery. It would go over their head, let alone a child. So why did Mojo need to say Nip Tuck? Why did they make him skinny at all if they were just going to undo it in the next scene? They could have just made him large and in charge. I liked his character in the 90s. You didn't need to change Mojo, but they chose to, and all for the payoff being a joke that no one should have written. I'm wondering if they have people in the writer's room who weren't even alive, or were they in diapers in 97? So you gotta have an older staff to catch things like Nip Tuck. I believe Charles Xavier, when he's talking to the Shi'ar, says, saying the quiet part out loud, a phrase that just came into the lexicon. He shouldn't be saying it in 97, he should be saying it in 2024, where the show does not take place. And there's lines like this in every episode. Now to chew off a little meatier tissue. A lot of us were wondering, how are we going to deal, or how are they going to deal? How is Disney going to deal with characters like Gambit and Wolverine, whose testosterone levels are a lot higher than the average guys right now? Like, those guys are off the charts. Logan, they just pretended it's not 97. They pretended it's 2024. We got old man Logan. They clipped his little sack off, and he's just sad, and it's literally not the next year. They fast forwarded 20 years on Logan's life in one season and gave us old man Logan from where we previously had, in his own words, a guy who doesn't age. He ages in slow motion. So how from 96 to 97 did he become so much like, slower and sad and depressing? Like, he doesn't have that killer on switch like he did in the 90s. And in Disney's perspective, it's only been a year, not 20. Gambit, that's an even harder one. People say that he had the Pepe Le Pew thing going on with Rogue. And I would counter with, Rogue was never in a situation where she needed help from you or me, any of her character cartoon friends. She had the situation under control. Not only does she have the strength of 10 men, she can fly away. She is totally fine without any help. Did her and Magneto have a romance in the early 90s? Yes. In the 2010s, X-Men Blue, they had Gambit, Rogue, and Magneto on the same team, and Rogue and Magneto were romantically involved. But X-Men Blue takes place after 97. So they're referencing the prior romance from 1991, but it doesn't resurrect until the 21st century. Back to how we deal with Gambit. they had him be totally out of the loop. Rogue and Magneto puts him in a position where he cannot do what he normally does. He cannot play his game. Ultimately, he has his heart broken. He does not find out that Rogue chose him in the end, and he is blown to pieces. And it was a beautiful episode. It is a great piece of art. But in terms of the question, how do we deal with Gambit? It has a second answer to that question, doesn't it? You know, they don't give him any game and they blow him to pieces. Back to, is it 97 or is it 2024, man? I really do enjoy this show quite a bit. Like, it sounds like I'm nitpicking when I'm really nit-tucking. But it is a question that should be asked. Are we taking place in 1997, or are we pretending that 1997 took place in 2024? I've been your boy Diesel Time. That's my dummy take. The Rogue Goes Rogue episode drops tomorrow. I'm super psyched. That Rogue going rogue, what's that going to be all about as far as... we'll see tomorrow. I've been your boy Diesel Time. Peace.